Sorry for the craziness. Someone definitely needs to message Elon.
All right, can you guys hear me? Yay.
I can hear you. I think play means we need 13 leaks for Mal.
Yeah, jeez. Hey, thanks everybody for our patience as we're doing this. Apparently Twitter's having issues. In addition to Atomic's power issues in our country there. Maybe this is what happens when you go through all the drama that they're going inside of Twitter there. But I appreciate everybody's patience on this. And I do believe this is the first AMA that we've had some tech difficulties on. So, who was that before? Grumpy, getting grumpy. Give us a break, man. Give us a break.
I don't think it was our fault. I think it was just Twitter's fault. I think that there's just something wrong with Twitter's spaces right now. So.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't my fault. We've come to the conclusion. This one wasn't my fault. It's not me, guys. It's not me.
You're like Han Solo trying to get the Millennium Falcon to jump to hyperspace. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. No. Anyways, thank you for joining us. This might be a little bit of a smaller one because all the people over on Twitter still have to get that message and jump over and join us. But we got some cool stuff to show today, talk about. But first, let's just welcome some folks back. You know, Chris Tuna, see you there. Welcome, Rocket. Welcome. Looked at some of your notes. Vulture, Dash Riprock, welcome back, everybody. Good to see your pictures here in one giant room. Willow, well, you're lucky we talked about the date last week. Well, we knew that you were a bit late to the AMA there. But you should have went in the last 5 minutes, right? Let's see, who else we got? We got a couple more people dropping in. Gandalf, hello. Cold Root, welcome. Citizen X, good to see you in there. Hey, one of the things I want to just share thanks to everybody in the community about is how much we're seeing all the veterans in here helping out brand new players. That's really cool to watch, and it's a really great way to help build and encourage the community growth, and that's really important. So hopefully we can keep that going and make sure everybody gets to gets to participate in the benefit of everyone's help. Really do appreciate that. So, given that we're now 17 minutes late, what do you think, Michelle? Do you think we should get started with this and roll through our agenda?
Yeah, let's get it started.
All right. Well, let me just jump in. Welcome, everybody, to our AMA. We're on Discord this week, on December 16th. We have been holding these weekly since the late bit of July there. We love talking to everybody. We love to take questions. So send your notes in questions as we're chatting through everything here on Discord. And then also we'll keep an eye out for anybody who's joining us from Twitter and wants to post questions there. And we've got people. Is everybody on stage? I think we're missing maybe Resource. So we'll check on her. But while we're waiting, Michelle, why don't you kick us off and let's go.
Yeah, it was a good week this week. We had a bicycle competition. I think people were doing really well with bicycles, a lot better than we anticipated people would do. We had some new features in the game. We had the legendary Santa's Factory NFT, the Christmas sugar cane stand. is live in the game, and that was also sent out 3 days ago now. So was the uncommon and common peppermint storage NFTs, and those are in game now. I believe the Gilded Barn Ghost Cards utility was added to the game, but they haven't been sent yet. I think we're hoping to send those out early next week once we get around to finishing up that list. The only meta change that happened this week was for Magic Powder, which had a city cache update for a cache boost, and I think Mal removed a pumpkin and added a brine to the craft requirements. We see what else we got. There was one bug fix for trade times. There was some kind of issue happening with trade times when the ornaments were applied, but that is fixed now, so it's all good. That was really all that happened this week. It was a pretty light week.
Okay.
After our big update last week with all of the new stuff.
Yeah, big updates. There's a lot of stuff happening every week behind the scenes here. We've got a lot of people working really hard every single day. So sometimes stuff just is in the background or maybe isn't as visible to all of our players. But yeah, thanks for that. What's next on your agenda?
We're moving on to Godot updates, if Volcron's got anything.
I sure do.
Can
you hear me?
Of course he does. Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, great. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let's see. We have a little video from, I don't know if I should name the person that made it, but an ambitious developer on our team.
Brand new developer. I think he's a developer who dusted off his ancient ass development skills.
So we got that to share. All of our changes actually for the product at large this week were mostly invisible to the players. So I didn't want to try to show you guys logs or diffs or any of that. Maybe people are interested in it. Be sure to, say in Townstar discussion if you are. But anywho, yeah, usually what we like to do over this is talk about what's actually gone in. So this week it's been a lot of bug fixes, stability, and this one is a big important deal. We fixed problems with town load and town save, adding some QA support there, adding some more QA cheats, and a couple bug fixes to our auto trade system, and then a bunch of internal systems as well. And there was even some bug fixes in construction and game servers. And like every week, we have to be a little coy, maybe even cheeky about our security efforts. We don't say what we're doing, just that we're doing it. So that's some more progress on security, not just user-facing, but also internal. And the cool phrase nowadays is to talk about supply chain security. If you're a JavaScript developer, you might be aware that about some things that have happened in the NPM packages over the years. So the phrase supply chain security is caught on. That's an important one we focus on as well. And then looking into mobile support a little more deeply this week with touchscreen fixes and testing out different ways to place buildings on mobile. That's been pretty exciting to watch come together. And yeah, and then I could go into some of the stuff that's currently up for review if you want, but usually I like to just stick with what's actually been merged and improved and stuffed into, the QA and staging. So
yeah, that's probably a good way to keep to that. But I know let's just talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going on just in addition to that. So you and SK have been working on a process to smooth out how quickly we can get stuff into QA and out of QA, right? Let me share a little bit about that.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of inside baseball, but I think it helps to give people a little bit of background on that. It's not just we write some code, slam it out to players and whatnot.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's pretty process driven here. It's I would actually say our process for this game is 95 to maybe even exceeds the diligence I've seen on billing teams that deal with like PCI compliance and stuff. So, for example, let's say I want to fix a bug and I'm a dev on the Townstar team. And I come into the code base and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fix this bug, yay. And then I push my code up. Well, that code doesn't get automatically just thrown into live, right? Some people call that being a cowboy coder. We definitely don't do that. What happens then is it goes up for review and the other devs look at it and it has to get thumbs up from certain devs. And then once it's been reviewed, then it goes into a little dev shared environment where all the devs can kind of play with it and test it, how it reacts to their changes. They're like, oh, okay, this guy actually fixed his, what he's saying. And of course, the original dev does it as well. At that point, QA, they can push a magic button and pull all of the latest dev changes into their private testing area. And they log in, they test it. It's pretty close to what live is like. They can grant themselves NFTs, they can delete and restore their towns, all that good stuff. If they give the thumbs up, well, let's say they don't. Let's say they find a bug that the dev didn't catch, then kind of go back to step one. Dev does all that work, goes through code change again, comes back out. Now QA is like, okay, you got it right this time. And then it gets promoted to what we would call a release branch. So all the nice QA approved features and everything get thrown into basically a bucket. And then once product management and producers and everybody decide, okay, we're ready to test this bucket out in our staging environment, all this has been QA approved. Then we put it in staging, and that's where internally the rest of the company can play with it. And once everybody there plays with it and we're all happy, goes through some play tests, then that is tagged, and that is something that we can then safely, confidently push out to the world. So, I'm sorry, Willow. Willow's.
Nice. Well, actually, so just that's a great summary, because here I just want to make sure everybody kind of understands, because a lot of people are like, why is it taking you so long to get stuff done? Well, because Volcron said we have a process where we make sure that when you guys get the code, as much as possible, we're not perfect, but as much as possible, it just works as everybody expects. So we're coding. I was looking for this for a long time. Okay, Rocket. Another just quick note, a little bit inside baseball. So we talked about our targeting the end of January last week. We're still targeting that, so no update on that there. Another thing we're doing that we've just started this week, we're looking at what I call the art upgrade or art update. That won't come at the same time as we turn on Godot, but we're definitely starting that process. And we just kind of think of it like a remodeling or a kind of a refresh of the graphics. Keep the look that we all know and love, but add a new fresh coat of paint, some changes to how things look, because on Godot we have so much more capability with that engine. We want to make sure we lean into that. Cool. All right, Michelle, what's next on our agenda? Oh wait, are we going to drop that video? We drop that?
Oh yeah, I'll put it in Discord.
Okay.
I'll get it here.
While we're,
I think we're moving on to Q&A next, unless we want to wait for that video to show up.
Oh, well, there's the video, everybody. If you want to pop it up, I'll kind of describe it. My joke about the ancient coder, that was me that did the work, but it didn't do much coding. I basically changed some parameters inside of the work that the team's already done to experiment with the idea of, we call it smooth placement, a little bit of a more precision feel on where we can put stuff down on the game board. So you can take a look at that. Because one of the things I know, just after making so many RTS games, city games, farm games, that kind of stuff, there's that feel of precision that comes that can make it feel good when you're placing stuff down. And it's kind of those little bitty things that I think help just make the game more fun and entertaining for people. Okay, so let's go to Q&A, Michelle.
First question I have, I think, is probably for Mal. Sorry, were you saying something?
No, I was just saying, rock this as precise and pleasant. I don't know if that's
it is very smooth.
Smooth. Anyways, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, so the first question I have is, will Mal be rebalancing bicycles?
You know, I actually seen the full questions of that and chuckled because it was worded more like the entire chat, like I'm not there and reading it. So whoever sent that question, I thought that was hilarious, being this like one or two new guys, which I've got a feeling this might be a new person. So it comes around the basis of the full question was more along the lines of the cash that you get. And just to point out, if anyone's more new here, in some messes, given that it's points that you were going for, sometimes you don't get cash for that object. Sometimes you might get more cash, not many points. And people figure out that you can calculate all between in those, and that's when they spot an imbalance. And because they don't understand, they get confused and ask this question. So I'll just explain in a sense of that it's very often that whatever is the meta might just get no cash. In fact, bicycles were given a lot of cash, considering it was going to be much lower. So that's just how it is sometimes. They obviously, there's the point of you could just sell blue steel. It wasn't nerfed. So there's lots of things that like the new player doesn't quite get catch on to yet. And they're those questions I always like the community to make sure they dive into and explain to people how it works, explain cash rush, why we boost items for cash and so on. But in terms of just while we're on the subject of the new stuff, as I'd mentioned maybe in the last AMA or the AMA before, can't remember, maybe the last one, there was 10 crafts going in with a whole host of ingredients. Sometimes it's the idea of always aiming for the bullseye is not the best choice. Just make sure you can land on the board. And in some cases, that's what happens. And then as you can look at it in real time and see it play out, you then know what needs tweaking, where and why. So in terms of will stuff be rebalanced? Likely, stuff often gets rebalanced. Bicycles are going back to their core values. So yes, they will change when the new meta comes in. So the points and cash they are now are wrong anyway because it's just for the meta. So yes, there will be rebalancing overall anyway because it's 10 crafts. 4 buildings. It's a lot. There's a lot of new strategies and a lot of ways that need to play out, and it needs to come around before we can actually know what goes where. So I hope that answers the question.
There's another question from S2 Anna S2. Will Mystic Matter have any adjustments in the recipe for the next meta?
Yes. So I was leaking that. Maybe I might have leaked that. There's changes coming. They'll come when the leaks come, Anna. Just be patient.
Hold your horses. That's cool. What's the next question there, Michelle?
The next question, am I muted? No. The next question I have is, will the daily challenges still be the same as they are now once earnings resume, or will there be more variety or tiers maybe?
Yeah, Musashi, are you here to answer that, or I could take it?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Got it. So for starters, we'll go with the same one that we have right now. Basically, a static challenge. This is to get the game out the door faster to you guys, but we do plan on expanding on that after the release. So hopefully getting tiers and more stuff to do to make it a little more interesting for you guys.
Cool. Yeah, big plans. Again, with Godot, the first step is to get it out there, make sure the game's stable, up and running. I saw somebody ask the questions a little earlier when earnings. That's when it's going to turn on, is with Godot. So we're going to make sure that's stable. And then, oh my gosh, the things we'll be able to do on the new engine. We are all very excited about that. Even we brought it up in our developer sync this morning, the anticipation that we all have for that. What's next, Michelle?
Let's see here. The next question I have is, are there future plans for Townstar Forever or Townstar Godot that are different from what we have now? I think someone just wants like the main differences between the Godot version and the current Play Canvas version that we have.
Sounds like another one for you, Musashi.
Yeah, definitely. So so the first and simplest thing will be giving we'll be giving more tools to Maul and the team to create new types of competitions. So for example, competitions with restricted lists of buildings and NFTs, imagine trying to basically a very short competition where you have very few buildings to work with to accomplish what you have to do. So very hectic, very interesting. So that's the first thing that we'll be able to do with Godot. But the bigger plans for the future involve persistent town. Right? So a lot of things will tie into persistent town, but we also play a part in competitions, hopefully. I can list a few that are in our radar, and even some of them are our pipeline. So we want decorations and self-expression to be the biggest, a big factor in creating more design space. Hopefully to attract other types of players too. And starting with very simple buildings to beauty up or embellish your town, and extending into ways for you to maybe import NFT art to make your town like your own, and a representation of your Web3 persona, right? And for you to share with other people. With decorations, we also want to explore competitions centered around them, but that's something that we're still discussing. Around the same vein, we want to have more social features like sharing and visiting other people's towns. So hopefully something that is not only to show off what you have, but something that has some mechanical effect. But yeah, like trying to get people to share what they're building, express themselves, and like go beyond just accomplish a goal and make the town, more personal. And the other huge change that is coming and we want to introduce is progression, which we have already discussed here before. That's progression for both normal buildings and NFT buildings too. So those are the main things that we're exploring now that we're moving on to Godot and away from Play Campus.
What about, hey Musashi, what about social features? I see Rocket, you asked about that.
I mentioned it, right? Like social features is a big tenet of what we want to do next. Decorations tie a lot into that. And that also goes into self-expression, as I said before. Or you want to go into more detail?
I was just saying, is there, can you share just a touch more? Because I think social features, a lot of people not sure what social features means. If you can describe just a touch on, the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're more of an expert than me. Social features.
Okay, I'll jump in on
but what I'll say is that. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in on it. So, social features is a big kind of catch-all phrase, and for anybody who has played games back in the Facebook game days, you might remember, a lot of notes in your feeds like, "Oh, your lonely cow needs help," and those kind of things. That's one aspect of it. The general idea is it's more fun when you play with other people. Presence, that they're there. You have guilds or teams or trade groups and other people that you just show up and you play with every single day. And so part of that is, mechanically designing features around that. And the other part of it is being able to add features where you actually can find and connect with your friends, to make that happen. And it's definitely, let's just call it a pillar of the game that we're going forward. And we're in the process of making sure we get the right, little small vectors in first so that we can build a system on top of it all. So yeah, definitely. I think the world is social now, and so that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's why we mentioned decorations and visiting other people's towns. Yeah. But that's the most basic version of that. Hopefully, we want you to be so enamored with your own town and how it looks that you want to share it with other people, and you want people to come visit.
What's next, Michelle?
The next question I have was more of just a suggestion than a question. I think Mal was in the chat talking about the new AI that we were kind of working on in the back end on the staging servers for the Townstar Live game. And somebody wanted to know more about that and what the status of that is.
Yeah, so I can talk about that one. So I came in the chat and I thought I would ask people a question that I knew was one of those that people might just completely ignore after the first couple of words and just start shouting when. And I really wanted people to think about what was actually being asked. What I asked was basically, at the moment, we all are aware of the conga line units. If you've got 10 units, they can lock poorly and there can be, 5, 6 running for the same task and just looping, and say it can be really annoying. Now, there are the arguments that people make that if you just balance it better and if you're just so good at the game, you won't have it. But there's that point where many, many, many more experience that issue than don't. And it's still a pain for, I know, people who are good players. So it's not exactly like we can just ignore it anyway. But there is a side effect of completely changing the logic from doing the conga to, okay, now this unit knows he's got it or whatever. So it doesn't try and do it. It'll go home if there's no more tasks, or it'll go and do another task. Now, that would be a smarter logic. That's a logic we've always wanted. Everyone's always complained for that kind of logic. But we're at that point now where we might actually be able to put that in and test it. But that could very well change exactly how everyone knows the game and plays it, which might be very well for the better as we would want. But if it isn't, I'm now in the point where I'm like, maybe we should put this in after the Christmas meta. So everyone has their sort of holiday time, they're relaxed, they're used to what's going on. And then as soon as the sort of boom game meta ends on that Monday, we sort of just put it in live. That was me thinking, rather than get it in this week and then everyone's trying to adjust and then there's the Christmas period and whatever else. So then that led to, like, we used to have the dev server, if anyone remembers. If anyone's been around a while, we used to have a dev server where we would test like Ledger of Truth and new pushes and stuff on there. So we thought, well, maybe we could just spin that up. And I was in touch with our lead developer today for the live, and he said he's going to get back to me soon on an estimate on how that would work, so I can get a sort of more clear date on. But it looks like we should be, as far as I know now, good to do the dev server and maybe try and test the new AI so people can... people being very brave, I see here. So the idea is this dev server wouldn't be the old Ledger of Truth version type stuff. This is more just like build towns, check if the AI having a smarter logic. Look at how many people say, I mean, honestly, I feel like I'd do it. It'd be do you know what? They're all saying this, but if it was a disaster, all these people now, they'd either be nowhere to be seen or they'd be in there spamming like, why would you do this? So, you know, everyone's all like,
I'm seeing this.
yeah, they can spam it all they want, but they know damn well they're not forgiven. They'd be causing havoc, blaming us, calling us devils and all sorts, saying we don't think before we do things. I know it already, so I'm really worried about doing it right before Christmas, right before the ghost card for the trees. You know, there's just a bunch of reasons I'm thinking, you know, is it going to go terribly? Now, Michelle had a good test of it, didn't notice much difference. But that's like, I don't even know how far you got in terms of a build to see it, because there's a bunch of niche instances when that logic, you know, yeah, exactly, Rheosaurus, so harsh. So I'm just worried that there's instances that we just don't think are going to happen. They happen, and they're the ones that like really start grinding people's gears. And then the idea of, oh, just get the team in over Christmas just to fix it, because we've now decided mid-competition we don't like it. You know, that's what I'm kind of thinking is the reality of, if it doesn't go well, is it smart? I know a lot of people want it, but yeah, see, now Willow's starting to understand the logic. Like, it's, you know, it is risky. You know, we all want it, but we don't know how it will play because we're all used to a different way. And as I say, you know, if I don't know, I still don't feel comfortable doing it, but if people are going to spam it, it's one of those. I don't think it'd be live Monday anyway. But if you wanted it in for the boom game meta and it seemed like overall mass opinion, I think you're all nuts. But I'll be screenshotting every single person who says it. So when you're coming in kicking off like you were innocent and didn't want it, you'll be getting shown all the screenshots. But yeah, that's where we're at with it anyway.
I like your approach, Mel. Let's get on the dev server, right? And let's get it tested out, because you know, that way we'll be able to see it and kind of nod, and people will be able to test it in, you know, in an aggressive manner with their towns. And then we'll be confident when we put in. We won't be worried about blowing up the meta or anything. And you guys all get to see, and maybe by everybody looking at it on the test server, we'll be able to find out there's some issues with it and fix it. Right. So I think that's a good approach. So let's target that. We'll keep it off of live for right now, and then we'll kind of let the community chime in what they think.
Yeah,
I definitely would like to see it so that people could get their hands on it, but I do totally agree that if it will be a big change. I didn't get a full chance to test it all that well when we did have it live on our staging servers, but I imagine that just the logic change alone for like tree heavy towns specifically and things that have a lot of like animals will probably be a big change to people's layouts that they're used to, just because it's such a big difference in pathing.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Sometimes it might be a big change, and everybody goes, "Oh no, I have to rethink how I set up, how I lay everything out, and how it works, and how I time everything." But it might be a big change that's good. So changing it to make it a little less problematic, or I've seen changes that seem so logical and good, and suddenly the game feels different. And that's what we really want to check and make sure that it still has the same fun. We don't accidentally, in our super intelligent thinking, mess something up. So thanks. So we'll see, guys, everybody out in the community. And yeah, Mal's tracking you all. He's going to watch. He's watching.
Yeah, as soon as we get more info on like when or if or where it will be live, you guys will be the first to know as soon as we know. Well, after I know, obviously.
What's next, Michelle?
The next question, which is the last question that I have, is it possible in Townstar forever to use your NFTs on the ETH chain?
Oh, yes, this is another one of those questions we've answered a number of times, but we'll talk about it because I know there's new people that come in and sometimes people need a reminder. Yes, you'll be able to use your current ETH-based Townstar NFTs in the Godot version. There's a couple of caveats there. The first one is that if you want the new upgraded features like Musashi talked about leveling, you'll need to bridge your ETH-based NFT over to Jiri. The other thing, which is also more significant, is just like we did on Spider Tanks, if you want to take advantage of and participate in the earnings on your NFTs, you have to move them over to Jiri as well. And that's the process we're going to follow there. So you don't have to convert it. It's okay. If you want to leave your NFTs on ETH, that's fine. But when you move it over to Jiri, the idea is it's better and more fun, and it also allows us to do more features and more capabilities, right? Functionality inside of those NFTs. That is the future for us. That's kind of how we're moving. Before we move on to the next section, why don't we look at the community and see if we got some questions in Discord here.
Jimmy 211, the question: how expensive will it be to move to Geary? Moving something from the ETH chain into Geary is based on ETH fees, so it'll be whatever ETH fees are.
Yeah, that's obviously trending lower with the change that they made to proof of stake. So that's some good news. What else? When is a Gecko NFT getting some love? Oh, TBD, Willow. TBD.
Literally, Willow. We just had 2 months on it now just because Willow asked 17 times. All right, wait 2 more months now. Everyone blame Willow.
Did the AMA end? Well, hopefully not, because we're still on it talking. What other questions out there, everybody?
I see people
Rocket,
asking about NFT crafting for crane bots. I know that's still in the works. As soon as we get all the stuff figured out on Geary, I imagine that'll be back. I know there's still some small details to work out there.
Yep. Ross says, will the change next month be a hard cutover, as in TSL no longer launches or runs? I can say we're still figuring out the transition, but it won't be a hard cutover. Like, hey, guess what? Today you can't log in anymore. The TSL will have, I anticipate both of them up and running in parallel, because not everybody logs in the same day every day. But once we're clear that the Godot version is up and stable and working, then we'll start ramping down TSL. So it'll run, but we'll also stop doing, stop putting features there, because we'll be putting features into Godot. What other questions are out there, guys? Somebody asked about a new partnership, rocket unit, new partnership. We'll be exploring all of that. Yes, that's an intent. It's one of the promises of Web3, right? Any other questions?
Not anything that we really have answers to yet. I see Dash Riprop asking when we'll start figuring out what the points levels will be for the NFTs.
Yeah, we're working on that right now, Dash. I know that I had a conversation recently about that. We're getting initial ideas. We'll be able to talk about that probably after Christmas break. Which, if you guys hear us talking about Christmas break, I mentioned it, I think it was last week. Whole Townstar team will be off from next Friday until the day after New Year's. I think we come back Tuesday the 2nd, if I remember that correctly, or the 3rd, whatever date that is. So yeah, we want to make sure the team gets well rested and gets a break as we go into that final push for Godot. And also because there's so much, team's done so much work in the last few months, both the live team and the Godot team. Yes, thank you, Resource. Tuesday, January 3rd is when we all show back up happy, right, bushy-tailed. Should we move on to the next section now?
I think we're moving on to leaks.
Let's do it. Leaks.
I don't know that we have a ton of leaks. We've got the Boom Game meta starting on Monday. I don't know if there's any changes or anything to... I don't know what the values and stuff will be. I don't know if Mal wants to talk about it.
I've got it right here. It's all ready. Decided. So, I leaked some yesterday, I think. I don't know. But for those who don't know, so Bicycle is going down to 16,600. That'll be core. Yes, if it needs balancing, of course we would. Increase the Bicycle City sell cash to 120,000. Yes, it's still low. Everyone's screaming like, but blue steel. Yes, that's how it is. Decrease Magic Powder City sell cash. It's now 6,500. That's looking like where we're going to keep it to see how it works. We obviously wanted it to be a decent little cash rush. So we're going to set it there and see how that falls on the board. A big one people were waiting for was the ICE cash boost. So that's going to be $27,500. Congratulations to everyone who's figured out how to make ICE. The Boom Canes are going to go to 25,000 points a Boom Cane. So even people who are fairly new to the game, if you can start racking out the Boom Canes, you'll be having a good time on the points. And, they're not too complicated, but you'll be navigating the sort of newer buildings, which do have the higher costs, but there's something in store for that to help. So the Boom Canes are now 20 seconds to create one. And for the new guys, as I've just mentioned, the flower sell cash to the city will be $5,500. So that's gone up a nice little bit just to help with the new people. So if you do see new people asking how to make money in this meta, please advise them for some flour because the windmills also only cost $2,500 now. So they're super cheap, and I just encourage everyone to just help the new guys get to the flower rush and get them set up with that so they can start playing in the meta. And I've also made the sheep pens 10,000 if you want to get them on a more advanced cash rush. But that's just an option for those more experienced and for the new guys. So I'll say that again. The sheep pens are now 10,000 and the windmills are now 2,500. And flour is going to 5,500. I haven't changed wool. It's just a flour. You experienced people know how to handle wool. So just put the new guys onto the flour. And then with the Mystic Matter question before, there is one cotton yarn removed. So the new ingredients will be one glue, one cotton yarn, one limestone to make one Mystic Matter. They are all the changes. I know somebody's going to say they didn't understand half of them because I don't speak, I speak in the English tone or whatever I get told, not clear. So I apologize. If you just ask me in the chat, I will try and answer them for you where I can type and you can understand it. And that's all I've got on those ones. I'm sure, I think Farmer Michelle had something planned to talk about our next ghost card, maybe, which will be the tree one if people didn't know. No name leak yet.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a name. That'll be a difficult one. We'll figure it out though.
Yeah, working on that.
Yes, I was just trying to do some math about the tree farm ghost cards just to see like how awesome an ancient tree farm ghost card would be. So even without any ornaments, without any skins, with an ancient being a 21% reduction in craft time, with a 30-second tree farm, that's 6.5 seconds almost, just for an ancient. So it'd be like 23.7 seconds. That's a pretty big boost to save 6 seconds per tree. I mean, if you have, let me try to get some more math done here. What's that? 30 divided by 6. I mean, I feel like you could save a decent amount of space if you get an ancient tree farm. And there's what, 200, top 200? Get an ancient tree farm ghost card. It's a pretty big deal. Even the smaller ones with the lowest level is still 1 second reduction off of your tree farm grow time when it's a green tree farm. And I feel like most builds have, you know, close to 30 trees at least. At least it feels that way when I'm playing. So that would save you at least 1 tile, even with just a common tree farm ghost card. Yes, Rob, they should apply to the NFT trees also.
Yeah, they will. And, you know, just to point out about the common ghost card, you know, that's top 4,500. So, you know, there is lots of chance that you can win at least a common, just to point it out. You know, even legendary's top 600, and it just gets on the nice wide brackets. You know, you can get into the uncommon rare range as well. So just get in there and try, especially if you're new, because these are definitely worth turning up for. I would say that, and as Farmer Michelle's just explained, that even a common definitely makes a difference. So, and there's obviously 4,500 placements for that competition.
Yeah, if you've never played in a competition before, this is the one to jump into. I think that's all we have for leaks. We can move on to the sale unless someone else has questions in the chat. Does anyone in the chat have any questions?
I see some note that you know, S2 and S2, it's fairly easy to get a legendary at top 600. This is great.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that the dubstep, I've seen him put as I went and looked at some comments of people saying there's no NFT builds. We're getting top 600, which I thought that was amazing. You'll see it in Discord. He gets a lot of praise for helping the non-NFT players and people who have NFTs. But you know, there's lots of sort of like community help out there, and as Anna's just said, that it's not impossible. There seems to be sometimes people can easily be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, so this one's impossible, but it's not. And we've all seen it. You know, we've seen the chat change from can't do it to, oh, hang on, this is actually easier than I thought. So just spreading that knowledge, I think, is worth it, especially sentiment wise, that, you know, it's reachable. There's certainly nothing stopping it. You've just got to try, and obviously it's a game of skill as well, which I think people need to focus on as well. There's a lot of skill that goes in. And then there's these opportunities of ghost cards where you can win utility, which then aid you in, you know, further future competitions.
Yeah, and if anyone out there is new and you're looking for where these videos are, there's a Townstar videos channel right in the Townstar section here on Discord, and everybody who puts up videos posts them right in there, so you can just go right in there and look at them all.
Any other questions? Community people, stuff you want to know? I think we're getting close to wrapping up. So if you think about them, bring it up, and we can move on to the next section and then pick up the last few questions at the end. What do we got, Michelle? What's next?
I think we're moving on to the sale. If anyone wants to talk about the sale, I don't know if Top YQ's here. I don't see him.
I could have saw
There he
him.
is.
There he is. There he is.
What's going on, everyone? So the sale, we've already shared the details in the blog post. I know we've talked about the four-part building for some time. Well, this is everyone's chance to get the third of the four-part buildings. This is going to be the Wizard's Workshop. There's going to be a store supply of 1,000. It's priced at $120, and it will be available in both town and credit card. There will be no purchase limit or transaction limit for this one. And if you purchase this and you've purchased the Santa's Factory and the Master Wizard, which there's still a very small supply of in the store, obviously you get the North Pole Creation Lab. We are trying to get that out prior to the Christmas meta or the Boom Cane meta before December 26th. So this is your chance to claim the fourth building, which we're not going to be selling in the store individually. So that is the sale tomorrow, or Monday, sorry. Oh, one last thing on that. It will be at 11 a.m. PST, same time as last week. I know there may have been a little bit of confusion around the time last week, but this next week, Monday, we'll be selling at 11 a.m. as well. Mal,
What did everybody think about that 11 a.m. sale time? Top Boy, did you get any feedback on that from the community?
Yeah, I think for the most part, 11 a.m. seemed to be fine for a lot of people. I know that we have some European players that like to purchase earlier in the day, so we actually changed it based on the feedback. But we'd love to hear from the community and see if that time works. If it doesn't, then we'll explore moving it back. But it sounds like 11 a.m. is fine for most people.
Cool. All right. So we're ready to move on the last minute last questions from the community. If anybody's got one or two more.
We'll speak about the Wizard Workshop first, just so people know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's the Rare Wizards Workshop. If everyone's probably noticed a unit who's played with one, Professor Skid, the snowman. I absolutely love his skid. It's amazing. You get a more jazzy version, of course, but one thing to note with the Wizards Work, well, multiple things to note, is it has 2 passive cold, the NFT version, which is great. It makes mystic matter and glue. Obviously, glue is that type of ingredient that can be used in a variety of sort of stuff in the future, but mystic matter is obviously used in, as people are looking, be used in the rocking horse meta, be used in the coming boom cane meta, just being used in the bicycle meta. So it's a building that does make a decent ingredient, one of those, more commonly used ones, so to say, of a bunch of crafts there. I've been told, I've seen people mention a rush and then quickly remove it from chat, so I'm thinking they were hoping I maybe never seen, so I don't rebalance it, but I believe it's a decent little cash operation, so I'll look into that and see how that's doing. But so it's Mystic Matter overall is great, obviously glue useful, but take note that it's 2 passive cold, which I think's very, very useful to have, especially if you've got the others, which will be all the Christmas buildings, the 4 of them, because the North Pole Creation Lab that you would get if you bought the other 3 has 1 passive cold. That'd be a 7 passive cold total if you have the whole set, just as a note. Probably should have said I've stopped speaking there, sorry.
Okay. So any last questions from the community? Anybody on the stage here seeing notes that we should address before we move off to the rest of our days?
See anything else?
No? Okay. I'm not seeing a bunch. We always spend a lot of times. Okay, Graybush. Will talent earning NFTs be similar? Well, pop up and find your full question there. To other NFTs with the new version, there are lots of great deals out there right now, but without knowing if there will be similar earnings, it's tough to figure out the best value to benefits. Okay, I'm thinking I'm Graybrush. I think I'm going to answer your question, but if I don't, just chime in there. Will earnings be similar? We're still figuring that out, because one of the things that we want to make sure we do going forward with the Godot version is respect all of the earnings promises that we've made before. And you guys, if you guys have heard us say some that we might be missing, please do chime in and let us know, because as a team, we always want to make sure we're diligent on those. And then, frankly, I'm still figuring out what the new earnings process is going to be beyond what's already there. I mean, we listed the white paper, and so it's going to be there when Godot launches. But we also have the what's next, right? And we have some really great ideas. If you guys remember, originally we were putting out the light paper like we were almost done, and then we made a change to it when we removed the forever element out of it. Just focus on saying Godot up and running first. So look for an announcement, probably after break on that with specifics, but yeah, we're still working on that, figure it out. Will the new NFTs that have been labeled this NFT does not really receive play to earn points change the earn points? We're not going to go back and add earnings to things. So the NFTs as they are right now will continue to be as they are right now. Are there any ideas on addressing a huge disparity between town earnings, NFTs and Vox NFTs? Yes, JJ, we've talked about that a lot. And we're reviewing everything. And actually mentioned a little earlier in the call how we're still reviewing all the NFTs and the earnings and just the points and everything and how they work with the economy to make sure when we get onto Godot and go forward, we have a really healthy economy. And I know there's some controversy around boxes, but yeah, boxes are part of Gala. We're going to support them. We just need to figure out the right way to do that in the best interests of everybody. So that's happening. Any other questions? Will other Vox be, Hop 77, will other Voxes be added with lower earnings? We'll figure that out as we do, move forward. We talked about, someone asked earlier today, what about other partnerships? Yes, we're looking at other partnerships as well. So that's one of the exciting things we're looking forward to. Okay, I think it's a good time to wrap. Thanks everybody for joining us today, both on stage and in the audience, and also thanks for being patient as we sorted out the technical difficulties or had to work around Twitter's technical difficulties. And yeah, so really appreciate everybody. As we mentioned earlier, thank you everybody in the community for joining us, all your good ideas, your questions, and then supporting new community members as they come in. That's really appreciated. And then also, you guys give us on the team energy, right? We get inspired by everybody's comments, your feedback, your positive energy about things are really helpful for us. And thank you to everybody on stage today. I know that it takes a little bit of work and effort to get ready for these and then to show up and have everything ready to present. So I appreciate all the hard work you guys did. And so thank you on that. And stage people, I'm going to hang out just a bit, talk people out, but yeah, I think let's call it a wrap. So everybody in the community, wow, a lot of people here. Thanks for joining us. SRT, Cold Root, Truck Tonka. I don't think I've seen you here before, Truck. We're going to keep this going however long we can while everybody kind of files out. Kim 101,